Hi guys, I'm here to do my weekly update and I hope this video finds you well. As of this morning, I weigh 339 pounds, which I am pretty stoked about because that means I'm in the 330s, which is approximately what I was at the beginning of college. Um, Now, that was, maybe 16 years ago. So thinking about that, I have to kind of try and accept the reality that is I have been bigger than I am right now for like half my life. Um, that is still like a crazy concept to me, and it's even crazier to think that I'm going to be smaller than I was when I graduated high school. But I think that that's a really nice kind of crazy, if you could say that. It's better to blow your mind with good and positive things than to struggle and blow your mind with how many times you super fail. Um, Now, what that means is that I've actually consistently lost little bits of weight for over a week now. Every day I've been either equal to or less than the day before. Um, and I'm dropping, fairly consistently every other day. And that was not the case a couple of weeks ago. So I'm hoping that this means that I've really hit a turning point. Like I was saying last time, um, I wanted to change my dietary goals because I thought that they weren't working really well. So I'm happy to see that the changes I made seem to be making a positive impact. So anyway, I had a pretty busy week, and um, that means that I don't know, my jobs have been kind of crazy recently. And, to be noted, I've handled the excess stress, both positive and negative stress, as pretty well, I think. I used to celebrate good things with, using it as an excuse to have like a fancy meal or, a specific kind of dessert. And I used to take negative stress and say, okay, well, I can go and do something nice for myself, which almost always included some ice cream. So the fact that I managed to get through a whole fairly stressful week, even though it was positive, um, without celebrating with food and without, falling into bad habits, I really think that that is is a good thing, and I want to put that on record. Um, I keep wanting to talk about certain topics that come with the surgery, and every time I get into the topics, I end up talking for a really long time. Um, the one that I wanted to talk about today was one of the many things that they don't tell you before you start losing weight. Um, Now, there's plenty of articles out there that say, oh, things that they won't tell you before weight loss surgery. And the thing about those articles that I think is very interesting is the fact that almost all of them, the points that they make, were all spoken to, like they were all addressed in my meetings before I went and had surgery. Um, so I'm wondering where they get this information that says things they don't tell you before you have surgery. Um, Now I will say that there are several things that they did not really talk about or that they didn't want to talk about that I think could really help some people who are getting ready for the transition or struggling with their transition. But they rarely ever make it into those articles. And the one that I struggle with the most, I think, is the fact that rapid weight loss creates this melty looking body. I think a lot of us want to just believe that we're just going to shrink and get tight along the way, but like when you lose weight really fast, that doesn't happen. You have, I mean, everybody knows at this point, like after surgery, you end up with loose skin, but I think that people think of loose skin being under the arms, or, you know, maybe, uh, maybe your stomach, you'll have an apron, as they call it. Um, I think what doesn't get talked about a lot is when, especially when you are excessively overweight and then you lose the weight, um, you end up with loose skin in areas that you didn't necessarily think was possible, or you didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was. Um, I, as I lose weight, it becomes really apparent that I have an excessive amount of stretch marks, and it's something that I kind of expected, but I find it kind of overwhelming at the same time because they're being revealed as my skin is not being stretched taut anymore. Like, it was stretched out rapidly, obviously. That's what stretch marks are, is that you stretch your skin very rapidly through weight gain. Or, like when women are pregnant and they get stretch marks from being pregnant because of the rapid growth of their stomach. Um, I think one of the things they don't talk about before surgery is that as you deflate the fat out of those areas, things like stretch marks become way more apparent, and you jiggle more. You're not taut. You're not firm. You are deflating. You will jiggle more. That means not only will your butt jiggle more, but your legs will, your stomach will, your boobs will, your arms will. Like, your entire body is going through this, and there's basically nothing you can do other than wear clothes that hold you high and tight, and simply hope for the best as you get smaller and smaller. I think that as much as like support groups and stuff go into the fact that you shouldn't do this for aesthetic reasons only, I think that it's kind of a point of denial if you don't recognize on any level that there is an aesthetic reason for doing this. Most of us who are fat are tired of being fat, and we are tired of being judged for being fat, and that's a perfectly normal thing. I think it's a pretty average experience for the overweight person. So wanting to change that is not a bad thing. But they don't really talk to you prior to surgery about just exactly what that'll look like. They'll tell you that you might have to have plastic surgery later. They tell you that, you need to make sure you drink your water and your protein because it'll help tighten your skin up. But they really don't talk about how you might go through several periods of time where you don't like what you look like, where you like look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself, or because of the way that your body is losing weight right now, you're disproportionate, or you might look at yourself and consider yourself unattractive for one reason or another, and that it will resolve, like you'll get used to it, and then it'll happen again. Now, I'm speaking to this from experience because when I was at my highest weight, I didn't really expect to be attractive, but I also didn't feel like the people that I was with, like the boyfriends that I had or the friends that I had, I didn't really feel like it was something that was a topic of attention. But as I started to lose weight and I started to deflate, I became more and more body conscious and more self-conscious of how loose things were, how how much like I just didn't think I looked like myself. Like, I do these videos and I can see the preview as I'm doing them. And sometimes I'm like, that is not me. And I can hear myself talking and I can see myself talking, but I still am like, that can't be me. And it's not necessarily that I think that person's ugly or anything like that. It's more that I just don't feel like that person looks like me. And that has a lot to do with the fact that I've lived most of my life not being this size. But I think that they don't talk to you about that kind of doubtfulness and that kind of struggle, and sometimes even the regret that can come with those changes. Like, yeah, there are points where you might feel regret based solely on aesthetic purposes, like aesthetic reasons might make you regret making the decisions that you did. And I think that in like support groups and stuff, there's a lot of shame that gets sent around when it comes to people admitting to having an aesthetic issue. Which I find very interesting because people are also very interested in before and after pictures. Like, no, 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 no. You can't possibly have a reason of like, I want to be more attractive and I want to, you know, be hot or whatever. Like, you can't say that, but you look at these before and after pictures and you can tell that this person wants to celebrate how good they look. And it's a double standard. It's a confusing thing, and I think that for people who are getting into this, who've really not had the experience of losing a lot of weight before, it leads to those people feeling like they're the odd one or they're abnormal. So I guess the point of this ramble, this talk, is to tell anybody who's watching this, it's perfectly okay and normal for you to not like how you look, especially when you're losing weight. You're not going to look amazing the entire time. Your progress will look amazing, but there are going to be days, just like anybody, you know, like it's like having a bad hair day. Maybe 85% of the time you're fine with the way your hair looks, but then like that other 15%, you're like, man, my hair is a piece of shit. You will probably feel that way about your body. You'll be self-conscious about your body. You will, you know, whether you have a partner or spouse or a real close friend, you like, and they might say like that you look great. There's going to be days where you doubt what they're saying. You will sit there and go, I don't know, like he says he likes looking at me, but how could he possibly like looking at this right now? So I'm here to tell you that that is okay to feel, and that's normal. I will say that if you find yourself being really obsessive about it, that it might be a good thing to go and get therapy or to find a really close friend that you can just admit those doubts to. Because it's not good to ruminate on those things. Like, you have to find a way of just accepting that part of the transition after weight loss surgery or after losing a lot of weight is the fact that you're going to be self-conscious and you will think you don't look like yourself, and you're going to have doubts. And being able to accept that that's a reality, and that if today you're doubting that, just recognize that tomorrow you'll probably feel fine. So like, don't worry about it. I don't know. It's just really important to understand that we're all human and we all want to be beautiful. And sometimes when we don't feel beautiful, we're going to have all sorts of crazy thoughts in our heads. But at the end of the day, you have to remind yourself not just about that one reason that you did it, like if it was about like, I want to look more attractive, but about all of the reasons. And to recognize that things like having loose skin or, you know, having to get used to your own face, it's like a weird feeling. But, you know, you have to get used to your own face. uh, those things are going to happen, and it's okay. Anyway, this has been very rambling, and I'm gonna let you guys go. But I hope you have a good week and keep on holding to yourself and to your truth. And I will talk to you later. Bye.